Call the member for Capalaba.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to give my contribution to the House on the Crime and Corruption Investigative Reporting Powers Amendment Bill 2025 as part of a Christopher Early LNP government that is committed to transparency and integrity in government. This bill was introduced by the Attorney-General and Minister for Integrity on the 20th of February 2025 and referred to the Justice, Integrity and Community Safety Committee. The committee heard from a number of stakeholders regarding the operations of the Crime and Corruption Commission. In the tabled report, the committee was satisfied that the bill complies with the Human Rights Act of 2019 and made only one recommendation, and that was for the bill to be passed. This bill seeks to amend the Crime and Corruption Act 2001 in order to restore the power of the CCC to make public reports and statements. This returns the operations of the CCC to a prevailing understanding that was held prior to the High Court decision in the Crime and Corruption Commission versus Khan. This case found that the CCC didn't actually have the power to release reports and statements to the public, other than in very limited circumstances. The significant negative effects of this outcome became clear when the CCC removed 32 investigation reports and 256 media releases from its website. The court's decision even went against the understanding that the CCC had about their own operations. So it is essential that a bill be introduced to clarify the functions of the CCC and restore public confidence in our state's corruption watchdog. These amended powers will be implemented with mandatory safeguards, limiting publishing of reports to a strict criterion, where the risks of releasing information to the public regarding corruption matters do not outweigh the benefits that can be derived from the publishing that information. There's also a requirement for the CCC to consider a range of matters before making a decision to include identifying information relating to individuals contained within a published report or media statement. Importantly, the bill before the House clarifies that the CCC does not have the power to make findings of corrupt conduct, and has always been the case. Instead, the Commission is responsible for investigating allegations of corruption and presenting all relevant material to the decision-making authority, who then is tasked with determining whether any further action is necessary. These restored reporting powers are vital to the functioning of the Crime and Corruption Commission, which at its core is there to provide Queenslanders with safe assurance that their government is working transparently in accordance with the rules and in their best interest. In September of last year, the former government introduced the Crime and Corruption Reporting Amendment Bill 2024, just weeks before the Parliament was due to be dissolved by the Governor for the election. In a sneaky fashion that Queenslanders have become associated with the Labor brand, it was clear that that bill would lapse before it had any chance of being debated. It was just another attempt to shut down any mention of their Labor pal, former Deputy Premier Jackie Trad. This was rightfully called out at the time by the member of Glasshouse as, I quote, a protection racket of the highest order, and I couldn't agree more with my colleagues. Speaker, I would like to acknowledge the work of the former Shadow Attorney-General and member for Clayfield, who introduced the Crime and Corruption Amendment Bill 2023 to the previous Parliament. That bill laid out the LNP's position on bringing the CCC back to a functionality consistent with the expectations of the public. I would also like to commend the Premier on appointing the first ever Minister for Integrity, who has been unreserved about our focus on bringing back accountability and transparency to the government. It is the standard of good government that works for the people of this state and shows respect for the trust that was placed in us by our electorates. We know all too well that the Labor Party doesn't like Queensland being able to read reports of investigations into alleged corrupt conduct and make their own judgments about them. We saw the former member for Redcliffe and the member for Waterford forking out wads of taxpayers' money to prevent reports into the Trad and Khan sagas from being released. They were more than happy to pay with the public purse, as Jackie Trad took the matter to the Supreme Court and Peter Khan took the matter all the way to the High Court in order to keep those reports hidden away. Why were they so anxious to keep the reports secret? Why did they feel that Queenslanders' hard-earned money should be tipped in to help their Labor mates? While hospital ramping skyrocketed, tens and thousands remained on public housing waitlist, and repeat criminals tore our communities apart. Speaker, those reports have been published now, with thanks to the Attorney-General, and they do not paint a pretty picture for those dark years under the Palaszczuk Miles Labor government. The report found that there was aggressive pressure from Jackie Trad over the hiring process of her good friend and former Under-Treasurer Frankie Carroll, who was found to be not appointable during the initial independent recruitment process. The CCC report also found that Anastasia Palaszczuk's Director General, Dave Stewart, had removed this reference to the candidate's lack of suitability following a significant increase in communication with Ms Trad. Mr Stewart even told the CCC that those extremely aggressive conversations with Ms Trad influenced him to change his view on Mr Carroll's appointability. Not even former Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk was safe from this torrent of abuse from Ms Trad, who detailed a phone conversation where she was yelled at and told in no uncertain terms to pick up the pen and sign the document. The Attorney-General also released a CCC report in the contact of the former public trustee Peter Khan, who would often boast about his connections to the highest level of the former Labor government. The allegations laid out in the reports were emblematic of the culture of fear and intimidation that was rife throughout the state's public sector under those opposite, where staff were scared of speaking out for fear of reprisal. But the allegations don't stop there. It was alleged that Mr Khan was frequently drunk at work, would harass his staff with remarks of sexual nature, and misused his corporate credit card to pay for boozy lunches at exclusive venues. They say that sometimes fact is stranger than fiction, and the next allegation is truly the icing on the cake. The report states that while the role as public trustee, Mr Khan was alleged to have tasked public servants with writing his university assignments for him. This outrageous behaviour is what the Palaszczuk Miles government spent $1 million of Queenslanders' money on in an attempt to hide the report from those very same Queenslanders. It is a disgrace and simply unconscionable. I believe that the forward included in the Trad report from the CCC chairperson, Bruce Barber, it was particularly pertinent to discussion. Mr Barber warned, if the Labor ministers fail to learn from the report, public cynicism about them will only increase, and we will all be worse for that. As we know, those opposite didn't listen to the public servants when they're in government, so it should shock no one that Mr Barber's warning went totally unheeded. I've heard it constantly from residents in Capalaba since I put my hand up to represent them, that they're sick and tired of the Labor government which hadn't listened to them and tried to avoid scrutiny at all costs. After reading these reports, it was clear why the Labor Party was so desperate to hide the truth from the public, because it was exposed that these Labor governments were truly rotten to the core. Funny enough, it brings to mind my old high school days in English classes. No legacy is so rich as honesty. Well, the legacy of those opposite certainly falls short of that mark. And that line comes from Shakespeare play. All's well that ends well. Fitting, given Labor seem to be hoping the same would happen if they kept their hiding the truth from Queenslanders. Speaker, Queenslanders could be forgiven for being shocked recently when the Premier did something with the announcement of our fantastic 2032.
Sorry, members' time has expired.